Dear students, in the first video that I had dealt with human eye. In the second one now, I'll be talking about power of accommodation. The word accommodation means how much can I accommodate in a particular space. For example, in a bench, 5 boys can be accommodated or 3 boys can be accommodated. The accommodation meaning is some sort of that. Now the eye lens forms real and inverted image of a nearby as well as far off objects. It makes a real image, inverted one, nearby as well as far objects. On the retina, which is light sensitive, consisting of rods and cones. The distance of the retina from the eye lens is fixed. For example, the distance from the eye lens to the behind retina is fixed. I can't change it. So, the image distance is always fixed. However, the object distance is not fixed. Therefore, to form a clear and sharp image of a nearby as well as a distant object is not fixed. Therefore, to form a clear image of a near object and a far object is not fixed. Now, how do they do? It is done by changing the focal length. That is, the eye lens is there by changing the thickness and thinness of it. That is, by changing the focal length of the eye lens, it is done. This is done by the ciliary muscles, which either contracts to make the lens thin or relax to make the lens thick. To see the distant object clearly, the ciliary muscles are relaxed. The lens becomes thin and the focal length of the lens is increased. This situation is when we are looking at the nearby objects. The ciliary muscles contract. When we are seeing a nearby object, it contracts. The increase in the curvature of the crystalline lens does this accommodation, does this changing of the focal length of the lens. The eye lens becomes thicker and its focal length decreases, and so the object can be seen clearly and distinctly. Thus the ciliary muscles adjust the focal length of an eye so that the image formed on the retina. This process of adjusting of the focal length of an eye is called accommodation. The changing of the focal length and making the image distinct and clear in the retina is called, we call it accommodation. This ability of eye lens or the ability of the eye lens to adjust its focal length so as to form an image nearby as well as distinct object on the retina is called accommodation power of the eye. Now, accommodation is a two-way. One when we see a far object and when we see a near object. It has been clear from the previous discussion that we've just discussed now that our image distance, that is from the lens to the retina, is fixed. But the object distance can vary. It can be near, it can be far, it can be very, very far. So, in order to adjust, that is, in order to adjust the lens, the ciliary muscles either they extend or they relax. With this expansion and relaxation, the thickness of the eye lens changes, and with this changes the focal length of the eye. So this changing of focal length and making the image clear so that it can be portrayed in the retina is called accommodation. And the lens has the capacity, therefore we call it the power of accommodation of the lens, depending on how much is the focal length of the particular lens. So this is what we call accommodation